Welcome to this explainer. So today we're diving into what is honestly one of the most incredible case studies I have ever come across when it comes to spotting high-value assets hiding right in plain sight. I mean, picture this. You buy a dusty old painting for a single dollar, $1, and then just 6 months later, you watch it sell for millions. Sounds like a Hollywood movie, right? But this actually happened to a woman in Ohio back in 2023. We're going to break down this viral hidden treasure story not just because it's a wild ride, but because it is a literal masterclass in identifying undervalued assets. Let's get right into it.
All right, $4,300,000. I want you to just let that staggeringly massive figure sink in for a second. This wasn't some massive corporate acquisition or a brilliant stock market play. This was the final auction price of a random household item that was quite literally inches away from ending up in a trash can. It completely redefines what we think of as valuable, and more importantly, where we expect to find that value.
And it just brilliantly illustrates the sheer absurdity of the return on investment here. We are talking about a $1 garage sale find transforming into a $4.3 million transaction at the prestigious Christie's auction house, a 6-month window where pocket change literally morphed into generational wealth. So you've got to ask yourself, how does a market inefficiency this massive even happen? How does a multi-million-dollar asset just sit there on a folding table in someone's driveway? Well, to understand that, we need to take a closer look at the buyer.
The $1 bet. In 2023, Sarah Mitchell was a 34-year-old single mom raising 2 kids in Dayton, Ohio. She wasn't an art dealer, she wasn't an appraiser, and she absolutely was not looking to make a multi-million-dollar alternative investment. She was simply trying to survive. $87. That's it. That is exactly how much money Sarah had to her name in her bank account when this story begins. Rent was due. The kids' school fees were pending. She was aggressively looking for a job. And because of this intense financial squeeze, Sarah spent her weekends scouring local garage sales. She wasn't out there treasure hunting, you know? She was just looking for cheap, basic household necessities to get by. Without even knowing it, she was operating in the ultimate market of undervalued goods.
So on this one particular July morning, Sarah stops at a garage sale being run by an elderly man. And there she spots it, a tiny, dusty landscape painting. The frame is visibly broken. Honestly, it looked totally unremarkable. It's the exact kind of forgotten clutter you or I would probably walk right past without giving it a second thought. But Sarah had a blank space on a wall at home she wanted to cover, and the price was exactly $1. So she made the bet. She bought the overlooked asset.
Her intention for this thing was incredibly humble. She literally just thought, I'll put it in the kids' room. She brought it home with absolute zero expectations. And man, it is such a stark reminder that high-value assets rarely announce themselves, do they? They don't come with flashing neon signs. A lot of the time, they look like, well, a dusty, broken dollar painting meant for a kid's bedroom.
Uncovering a lost masterpiece. Now, this is the exact moment where our story abruptly pivots from a desperate financial struggle into a really thrilling, high-stakes discovery. It's where simple routine cleaning turns into extreme due diligence.
So Sarah gets the painting home and decides to clean it up a bit. She's carefully wiping down that busted wooden frame. And as she's doing this, she notices something hidden on the back, kind of tucked away behind the damaged wood. It's a faded signature, looking almost 2 centuries old, and it reads, J.M.W. Turner, 1824. Now, Sarah had no idea who that was, but she did exactly what any of us would do today. She pulled out her smartphone and started investigating her new asset.
And a quick Google search revealed exactly what she had stumbled onto. J.M.W. Turner is widely considered the world's most expensive and, frankly, one of the most famous British painters in history. His romantic, sweeping landscapes are absolute legends in the art world, and his authenticated works regularly sell for tens of millions of dollars. In an instant, Sarah's $1 piece of wall decor wasn't just decor anymore. The stakes skyrocketed. But here's the catch, and it's a huge one. Her painting was not listed on any known museum registry anywhere.
Because spotting a potential asset is one thing, right? Actually verifying it is a whole different ballgame. What followed that July purchase was a crazy, incredibly tense period of authentication. After finding that signature, top art experts were brought in for 3 grueling weeks of rigorous testing. We're talking analyzing the canvas, the pigments, the individual brushstrokes, cross-referencing everything with historical records. It was a massive, high-anxiety waiting game leading up to the Christie's auction 6 months later. So, what actually happened at the end of those initial 3 weeks of testing? The verdict came back. It is real. Sarah Mitchell was literally holding a genuine 200-year-old lost masterpiece.
It wasn't a print, it wasn't some clever modern forgery, and it wasn't a student's copy. The experts validated the asset. This is the exact moment the purely theoretical value of that painting transformed into concrete historical fact. Which brings us to the liquidity event, the million-dollar auction. Because having a multi-million-dollar asset is amazing, obviously, but you actually have to realize its value in the open market. And that realization happened at Christie's auction house in New York. When the hammer finally came down, the winning bid was $4.3 million. But what's equally impressive to me is how Sarah managed this massive, sudden windfall. She didn't just go out and buy a fleet of sports cars. No. First, she paid off every single one of her outstanding loans. Second, she entirely covered her kids' school fees, totally securing their education. And the largest slice of that pie? She smartly invested the remaining millions to generate long-term, sustainable wealth. Talk about incredible financial discipline.
The transformation here is just nothing short of astounding. She went from a deeply stressed job seeker staring at an $87 bank balance to a highly capitalized full-time art collector. She leveraged this single, incredibly fortunate $1 bet into an entirely new life trajectory for her and her family. Spotting hidden assets. So how do we actually apply this? Because yes, Sarah got unbelievably lucky, but her journey actually maps out a highly effective, totally repeatable framework for finding value in places where everyone else sees absolutely nothing. Let's break down her unintentional but totally brilliant four-step process. Step 1, acquire overlooked items. You have to look in places with inefficient pricing. Think garage sales, estate sales, or even overlooked data sets in your own business. Step 2, inspect beyond the surface. Sarah didn't just look at the dusty front of the canvas. She cleaned it, she checked the back, she examined the broken frame. Step 3, research anomalies. When she found that weird, faded signature, she didn't just brush it off. She immediately investigated it. And finally, Step 4, authenticate through experts. She didn't just guess, she brought in the pros to verify the asset's true worth. It is a perfect blueprint for due diligence.
And it all really comes back to Sarah's own realization. She said, "I was looking for cheap furniture, but I found my future." I think that perfectly sums up the unpredictable, chaotic, and completely life-changing nature of hidden assets. You very rarely find a masterpiece when you're actually out looking for a masterpiece. You find it when you are simply paying much closer attention to the mundane things right in front of you than anyone else is.
Which leaves us with this final thought. The next time you walk past a folding table full of old junk, or the next time you're presented with a piece of data or an opportunity that everyone else has just completely dismissed as worthless, pause, take a second, look a little closer, look behind the frame. Because as Sarah Mitchell proved, sometimes the highest value assets in the world are just waiting for someone willing to spend a single dollar and pay just a little bit of attention. So, what treasure is hiding at your next garage sale? Keep your eyes open. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.